There have been some nice upgrades and updates in our chicken operation in the last couple weeks or so, getting caught up with some issues that we've had, and I thought it'd be nice to share with folks where we are on things. Hello, kind sir. He's been such a wonderful rooster to our hens, I'll tell you. Main part of this operation, for those of you that watch this channel a lot, you already know where I'm going. This is kind of our compost conveyor belt right here, and I feel like I'm starting to hit a real stride with the layout and the functionality of this. You'll notice even relatively early on, the compost has a nice texture, good color, and it's really critical, I'm learning, in the summer months to widen this space. In the fall, we had 2 compost rings that were relatively a lot wider into the space in this dimension and from the coop coming this way. So it was a much more channelized and narrow band. Really wonderful for fall and winter in cold climates to have a tight composting pipeline to keep the heat up. It never froze on us, but by getting rid of those and allowing it to expand out, and you can see all I'm using are these simple black locust offcuts. Like, who could use a piece of wood like this for another project? Really squirrely piece there. And I just screwed these feet onto it, and those keep it nice and stable. And you can see I can move it aside and the chickens get right in there and work. We're getting really fast translation of food scraps and sprouts into compost now, and it's not overheating. So that's very exciting. You can see as it moves down through the pipeline, each time we turn it, they kick it apart. And we've got these crates basically staged here. My last video I talked about these crates I invested in that I'm filling with compost from our chicken system. So I'm filling them here, letting them rest here. Earthworms have access to it. And today Sasha and I need to go up to the main nursery, which is a little bit of a hike. And so I filled the truck to the absolute brim with those containers as a way to transport the compost off of our tiny site and spike the fertility and functionality of our larger site. You can see the trial that I started experimenting with a little ways back. These are milk crates that I bought for $2 a pop. They're all seeded out to amaranth and sunflower and corn. Not a ton of light in here, but they're growing okay. We'll see how it works by the end of the season. And I will say that this really inexpensive bird netting and very simple little knots from hay bind twine are so far working 100% perfectly in keeping the chickens out of this. And I'm even using, well, where is it? On the side here, a little ground pin to keep it pinned in, but a little twig would do just as well. Another thing that I'm learning this season, this looks like a horrible situation, but it's actually very functional. This little pond is loaded with duckweed, which got its, to be honest, I didn't even put this in here. It came in at some point, and it looks like a real big mess, but it actually filters. So this is all rainwater coming off of the roof, going through a really thick bank of wood chips and charcoal, making its way into this pond, and the ring is around it to keep the chickens from eating everything. What's wonderful is that in the summer month time, the duckweed regenerates so rapidly, and it's such a prized treat for these chickens. I found that a rake, which I keep in here anyway to keep things tidy, is a great way to once a day take a nice harvest, throw it right on the pathway, and they know what to do. They come right in for it. So it's kind of amazing. This little pond can be generating a high quality mineral protein feed that our chickens really appreciate, and I can provide them a nice dose of it every single day. So that's very fun. Let's look at another little area here. So one of the things I learned this spring coming into the summer with the challenge of too much compost too quickly is that having a main pipeline for production and scratching for these chickens is great, but that having a staging area, so you notice further back in here, Don't mind the mess. It's the reality of chicken operation, so what are you going to do? Back in here we have a little bit more space, and it's a little further from the road. And I had a friend willing to drop 2 truckloads of wood chips, so we have about 20 cubic yards of wood chips, believe it or not, in a big broad pad. And now the raw food scraps as they come in are going into this area first, where it's very distributed and open. All of our garden debris is coming back here as well. And this gives the chickens a really great first opportunity to work at this material before it's piled up. They get first dibs, so to speak. This is where we're putting our sprouted grain as well. And then I can go through and with the hay fork take chunks of this and send it. Kind sir, you gotta relax a little, buddy. I'm trying to film, don't you know? I can send it into the pipeline once it's mellowed a little bit, and then really tumble it down, and within 10-15 days have it turn into finished compost. But the nice thing is, with the heat and intensity of the summer and all the different chickens, it gives a lot of free choice and broad access to diverse material before it's consolidated and cooked and composted in a really intense way. It's been working nicely for us. Last but not least, as an update, we've got these sidewalls. It's part of the challenge of dealing with all the compost. We're taking this chicken wire addition and packing it with nearly finished compost from the system and seeding it out and planting it. You can see in this one, I put bird netting over. I had this all filled with beets, and I got a little lazy and also interested to see did I really need the bird netting? And it turns out I did, because every beet that isn't protected, they snuck right under and ate them all right up. So bird netting was critical. In this one, I put the bird netting with all the beets, and every set of beets and other seedlings are off and running in a beautiful way. So these will be able to continue to grow outward. The chickens can eat whatever greens they can reach through the mesh, and then we'll be able to harvest some nice storage beets in the fall. And then in this one you can see this is all broccoli and beets, with the bird netting providing a really simple but very functional protection for them. And again on this one, broccoli, and in this case we're trialing, can goji berry exist in this? So can we start putting nutrient-dense perennial crops into these raised beds as well? And so far the answer is yes. We'll see how something like this overwinters, but this new shoot is probably only a few days old. It's a very happy plant in basically 2 feet of pure compost. So all in all, little bits to adjust here or there, but we've got some chickens that are feeling very healthy, very happy. Lots of eggs. We're getting about 2 dozen a day, and more compost still that we know what to do with, even though we're starting to export it from the site. So again, if you're in the Ithaca area, Ithaca, New York, and you've got a great nonprofit or a small project and you need some fertility, hit us up and bring some empty containers, and we'd love to share some with you. Thank you for watching.